today's webinar session. As we are communicating design ideas to our customers, there's multiple ways for us to share ideas, communicate ideas. How can we show our customers design ideas and concepts that we're thinking about implementing on their particular property or their project sites? Some of these examples may be familiar to you. Again, there's no right or wrong answers in terms of how to show your customers or how to communicate design ideas. But we have here the graffiti artist going out to the job site, marking out an area with spray can or with paint, and really mapping out that area so our customers can understand the flow, the sections, how we partition off their particular property for design. We may also sketch something out. We're communicating verbally, we're showing some pictures in a book. Customer still is looking at us with glazed eyes, not truly getting this particular project or your concept. You sketch something out, and maybe this is pulling a piece of clean paper, really looking for any piece of clean paper that you may have with you and sketching out your ideas or your concept on a piece of paper. Okay, also marking it up, taking a picture of your project site, using your markers to really map out different areas, visually showing that on-site view, that perspective of the house, and just really marking things up using a black Sharpie marker. Or for this particular design, this was created by P. Allen Smith, and this is something that he would use to communicate design ideas with some of his followers or viewers on his TV show. Using photo imaging or photo design software. This is a great way because it is actually working with a digital picture, an actual picture of your client's home, whether it's residential or commercial. We can show hardscape elements, we can show plant material, and visually, since we are using actual photos of these design objects, the customer can understand clearly, looking at before and after, what the design concept is. And further modifications or changes also can be made very easily by using this photo design. So professional site plans, or site plans generated by hand or generated through a computer, whether that's using AutoCAD or using a program similar to the Earthscapes application. So really, there's no right or wrong way of how we present, how we communicate our designs and our design concepts. But what is vital is what is going to sell the job? What is going to get your customer excited about? And how fast can I communicate this design to my client? We don't have time for the client who is unsure. They need to give a few weeks to think about an idea. They're not really sure what it's going to look like. So how can we provide to them something that will wow them? How can we show them a magical makeover, instant curb appeal, transforming a neglected yard into an outdoor space? How can we show them instantly what all of your designs will look like in one view? And how can we do this in possibly an unbelievable offer? How can we do this in one day? And maybe this is something that your company, your business can market for next season. Yes, we offer design services, and we will provide you a design in a day. This can be done, and this can be done with the tools that I share with you using the Earthscape software that has both the photo editing and photo imaging elements to it, as well as a professional overhead site plan designer. So no matter if you just want to show your customer visually before and after, or if you do want to create that professional overhead site plan, both tools are provided and included in the Earthscapes application. So you can be a landscape star. All of your clients, your homeowners, they may be watching the DIY network, HGTV, they're seeing the instant landscape makeovers. They're seeing that instant transformation. Yes, you may not have the luxury of having a crew of hundreds come in and have a feeding frenzy on the backyard, ripping out old shrubs, putting in new, but we can show them a design pretty quick. And this design can be done using the photo imaging as well as producing the overhead site plan. And if you can create a design using the photo imaging within a day, and maybe you give yourself 2 days, we can certainly present the design either by email or through a second meeting with that client and be able to show them design concepts and let's move forward. Let's complete this design. Let's win the bid. Let's install the design. So let's get it done. Let's show some ideas of how to implement both the site plan designer as well as the photo imaging tools to produce some of these professional designs that you can use for your own presentations. Okay, so next we're going to go into our site plan designer application, and I'm going to give you a few easy methods of how to make yourself most efficient. How can you speed up your workflow when creating a site plan, when creating that overhead scaled drawing? And that's really, I would say, probably between the photo designs and the site plans. The site plans do take a little bit more time, and they may take a little bit more time just to get used to the tools, and many of us are more accustomed to using a piece of paper and a pen to create our design. So when it comes to using software and creating our designs and freely working with a computer to create these designs, we have some apprehension. We don't know how to get started. So I'm going to give you a couple ideas, 3 ways to speed up the workflow when you're working with your overhead site plans. The Earthscapes application does use Corel. So we're working with Corel Designer, and within Corel we have professional templates. These templates are based on 24 by 36 sheet size. So what we'll do is we'll locate our template that we'd like to use. We have our template. This is a 1 to 10 template. We'll change our units to feet. Now here's where the first key or the first recommendation is of how to speed up your plan and your workflow comes into place. We are going to create a template that we will use on a pretty consistent basis. If you do create your designs on a 24 by 36 using a certain scale, we can save this page as a template and be able to open up this piece of paper with all of our information already entered in. So it would be pre-populated with your company name, your company logo, your scale, and it'll be ready for you to create your designs. So we have our page border. In the lower right-hand corner, we have our title block. Now this is where we would enter in all of our customer or all of our company information, including our company name, company address. You're going to populate this information as well as import your logo. So we'll go to File and Import. And this would be a logo that you have saved as a JPEG, a bitmap. We're just going to go into our logos. Any of the objects, any of the information that you do add to a template, they can always be altered or changed the next time you open up this template. So maybe we need to use a different logo or update our logo or update our company information on the next project. That's not a problem. All of this information can be edited and changed from project to project. Okay, so we would save this as a template. We're using a 24 by 36 sheet size, a 1 to 10 scale. We have our logo. We've populated or entered in our company information. We would save this file as a template. That way we can open it up next time, and away we go with our next project. Now, recommendation number 2 of how to speed up your workflow when using the Site Plan Designer is importing an existing base plan or sketch. Even if it is a hand sketch, we can import that base plan and use that as our base layer to create our designs. So So let's go to File. We'll go to Import. And what we'll locate is an example. You can work with a base plan. You can work with an AutoCAD file. You can work with a hand sketch. Anything that you may have to give you some rough ideas in terms of shape, location, measurements. Save it to a location on your computer as a JPEG, as a bitmap, as a PDF file, or that AutoCAD file. Locate the base plan. Select Import. We're going to import this file onto our paper. Now, when you import your base plan, you do have to verify that it's the appropriate scale. So what we'll do is we'll use our magnifying glass, zoom in, and working with this particular file, we see the distance between A and B is a length of 25. Using the line tools, I left click and I drag. And as you can see, we're almost to 25. As I drag my line, the footage is given to me at the bottom of the screen. So I need to left click and drag. I'm not quite to 25. So let's take this line all the way to 25 feet. And we just need to make our imported base plan a little bit larger. And then it will be to the 1 to 10 scale that we established for this design. I select that base plan once more. And we're just going to make this ever so slightly larger. We'll zoom back in. And that does it. So we've scaled our imported site plan or base plan. This can also be done with a hand sketch. We'll go back out to a full screen. Similar to your typical hand drawing methods, we can add a new layer on top of this base plan. So down in the bottom right-hand corner, we can click on a new layer. We can label our layers to keep everything organized. So we'll just call this our base layer. Zoom back in. And now using our line tools, we'll simply just trace over whatever we want to capture or keep. So I'm going to use line tools, left click and drag this line as a straight edge. Again, this is just a quick and easy way to recreate those foundation lines, those property lines. We can also pull out the intersecting areas. Okay, so we've closed off our shape. Now here's the cool thing about working with a design program. Let's say we don't need anything else in terms of the measurement. Obviously we do need the property lines, but what I want to share with you is the ability to turn on and off layers. So you can turn off that imported base plan or that sketch completely, make it invisible, and now we're working with a clean piece of paper. We're working with a clean sheet of paper. We can always turn it back on. If it is a base plan, if it is a file that you will never use, you can delete it completely. Okay, we're just going to use the line tools, and we're going to create our property lines. So just using the line tools. And we'll close that line. And within the Earthscapes application, you have the ability also to change your line thickness, the color of the line, as well as the pattern for the lines. If we do want to make it a dashed line, all these changes can be made within the application. So let's just make this a little bit thicker. Okay. Now if we have our foundation lines drawn, if we have our property lines drawn, our next step is to draw in some bed lines. And using that object manager, I'm just going to turn off the base layer once again. So as you can see, we have foundation lines, property lines. Using our line tools, we have straight lines available as well as curve lines. And I'll choose the B-spline tool. Left click as I go. This allows for us to bend and stretch that line like elastic. And if you had to make any changes to this curve, we double click on the line and you can bend, stretch, make those changes as needed. The other benefit with the program and how the Earthscape software can become efficient for you in terms of a tool producing the site plans, we have an autofill feature. So if you have a shape, an area that you would like to fill, we can select our Smart Fill feature, and we can click inside this area, and as you can see, it will automatically fill that unique bed shape for us. This can always be changed to a different fill color, pattern, texture. Next, what we'll do is we'll add some plant symbols to our design. So I'm just going to pull up our plant symbol library. Okay, here we go. So with our plant symbol library, we can select plant symbols, and as we choose our plant symbols to work with and use, we simply drag and drop them from this library listing, drag and drop them onto the screen, release, and of course resizing this object as needed. The next efficient way to speed up your plan or your workflow is as you're creating your design, you can create a plant legend. So each time that we use a symbol, we use an item from the library, what we can do is we can drag and drop it onto the screen, of course duplicate, create our beds, create our design, and then each time we use this symbol, we can create a plant legend so we can share with our customers at a later date what these items would look like. You also have the ability to use callouts. So if you do want to label your plans with callouts, that would be another option. Taking a look at some final designs, this is an example of a final design sharing with you the ability to create your planting plan using a plant legend to show off the symbols that are used. You can add different quantities, or you can use the Earthscape's application to prepare an estimate for you, which would show you the quantities of those items used on the site plan. With this particular design, this was a designer from Virginia. She produced this site plan on a 24 by 36 sheet size. It had the quantities of the plant material listed on the design itself, and she was able to provide this to her installer. And the installer quickly understood the design concept because they could refer to the plant legend, they understood the quantities used, and it made for that designer-installer relationship and implementation a lot smoother. So this is another way to really make the most of using a design program and making the most of your presentations. Not only is it for your customers and selling the project, but it also is a great resource for your installation crew. Okay, so what we'll do next is I'm going to share with you some examples of the photo imaging and some of the projects that were completed with that photo imaging application. We're just going to go to an example here. And this is the example of the landscape designer who saved Christmas. This is a designer down in the Georgia area. He was approached by his customer, and this was a long time, a loyal customer. This isn't the first project that Joe had for this particular client. The client contacted Joe, and she wanted to surprise her husband with a design for Christmas. So Joe was tasked of producing a design and offering some design suggestions for this particular property, for this project. Not only does he need to come up with something creative for this space, but also he needs to produce something that the client can wrap up put under the tree and have her husband be surprised come Christmas morning. Now the problem with this particular site, as you can see, it's a wooded lot. And the homeowner had lived at this particular property for 12 to 15 years. This is what she looked at every single day for 12 to 15 years. It was very hard for Joe to convince her of anything different. She just couldn't envision his ideas and his concepts. He wanted to provide an endless waterfall, some type of water feature, possibly a dry river bed. So these were all ideas that he was sharing with her verbally, of course showing some examples from a portfolio book, but again, the customer was having a difficult time understanding some of these ideas and concepts. Using the photo imaging program, Joe was able to implement his ideas onto that photograph of her backyard. So again, what she always saw for the last 12 to 15 years is this wooded lot. Joe was able to implement some falls, some boulders, some rocks, soften it up with some grass, some plant material, be able to share with his customer before and after. And again, this is something that he can print out, client can print out, and that could be used as a presentation even for Christmas morning. Put it into a frame, and it certainly makes for a great gift. Now, this project extended into a separate area. Again, we had the wooded lot. We had more of a ravine area. Again, this vantage point also had a design element where Joe implemented a dry river bed, which is great. It's fantastic. It really does make use of the natural grade of the land. It gives something for the homeowner to explore. Having this feature in their backyard is really providing some added punch as well as some unique interest to this particular property. Again, here we have before and after. Don't feel as though either the photo imaging or the site plan designer can only be used for large-scale projects or small-scale projects. Our customer base will make use of the program for curb appeal, for new foundation planting, maybe for some seasonal display with holiday lights, or for a large presentation for a home community or a housing community, an HOA where there are multiple homes within a particular property or project, and they do need to show that full-scale design concept. The next example that I want to share with you is the ability to show how the program can be used. This is the example of how a parishioner was able to take a project for his church. This is a new church. They had a unique space, and that was a unique space indoors next to the stairs, next to the escalator. Very challenging. And how is he going to convey an idea of a water feature for this space? So let's just take a look at the before. And this is the actual implementation of his design. So we have our before space, the actual implementation. But if we go back up to the top, this is what he used to sell his ideas and his concepts. It's very powerful. By taking a look and being so overwhelmed with the entire church project, I'm sure the general manager or whoever was giving the approval for the design, all they saw was this vast opening in this vast hole. They could not envision what James was considering or thinking of when he was proposing a water feature in between the stairs and the escalator. But it turned out to be an awesome project, and as you can see, it was a project that was implemented, and here we do have that real-life photo. The other example I want to share with you is the program or the project that the Earthscapes software was used on for a Six Flags job. So again, this is very unique, and this is how using a photo imaging program, using a site plan designer application will allow for you to create custom designs. You're not forced into only what our library has to offer, but you can make this system work for your needs. For this particular project, this is Rupert out of Virginia. They had a Six Flag project, and this project allowed for them to I'm just going to get you an example here. They had the Amazon Falls, which was a theme ride or a project. It was a water park. It was a slide. So taking a picture, as you can see, this is in the dead of winter. Here are your slides for the Amazon Falls ride or the amusement. And what Rupert was tasked with is adding design elements to make this feel like a jungle, to make it feel like the Amazon. So they obviously offered suggestions of palm trees and vines. You can see here they've even added an ape. And with our program, apes aren't included. You would have to go out and find your own unique components. But this just shares with you what the program can do in terms of being able to provide your customers with a visual. Here's another example of the before as well as the after. This is that same Six Flag Rupert design where they had the before picture of the Amazon Falls. Here's our entryway, laid down the hardscape, railings, palm trees. It's awesome. Of course, this design was an easy sell. All right. Getting back into some other examples, also for presentation purposes, think about putting both concepts together, putting the site plan together with the photo, creating an entire storyboard. So if we do have a before picture of the project site, as you can see up here in the upper right-hand corner, implementation of design using photo imaging, and then of course the overhead schematic where we list out the location, the quantities, the plants, and then we have the plant legend too. All of this can be done within the application by arranging the before, the after photos, arranging the site plan. You could even import actual photos of materials, or maybe there are some custom architectural elements that you also want to share or illustrate as part of the storyboard. All of these can be added. You are compatible with standard image file formats, JPEGs, bitmap, TIFF files, and then all of your designs, once they are complete, whether that's a photo design or a site plan, they can be saved out as a standard image file, a JPEG, a bitmap, or even a PDF file. For this particular example, I do want to share with you, this is how it started. This is a larger organization. Obviously, they have a salesperson and they have a designer back at the office. The salesperson was able to sketch out some ideas in terms of what they thought would be implemented. This is not a Van Gogh. This is pretty rude in terms of the sketch that was prepared, but this is still a usable file that you can import and bring into the Site Plan Designer to produce the actual schematic. So we can use that hand sketch as our base plan and then use the line art to really make those lines crisp and clean and implement the design idea that the salesperson had. Okay, so let's get back into our presentation. So just as a recap, how can we speed up the plan workflow? With the Earthscapes application, you have the ability to create a custom template. This includes choosing a page size and a scale, as well as adding in your company information into that title block, adding a logo, saving it as a template so it's ready for you to go for each project every time you open up the program. Also, importing an existing base plan. This could be an AutoCAD file. This could be a survey plat. It could also be a hand sketch. Importing that base plan into the application so it does serve as a base layer. It gives you something to trace from. It gives you a reference point as you go. This is a great way for both installers as well as your customers to understand all of the plant material that is used on the design. You can also use call-outs if you do have a very intensive design with a lot of different items, specimens, species that are being used, the legend does work out as a clean way to really illustrate and communicate what those symbols represent. The other option that visual impact imaging has to offer, and this is a great service during your busy season, but if you're under the gun, you're completely swamped with jobs, installs, designs, look to visual impact imaging to serve as an extension of your design team, especially if you are an Earthscapes. If you're an Earthscapes customer, you're working with the software, we can send you the working file upon completion. So if there are any changes that had to be made, you can simply go in, delete items, move items, make corrections or changes to those projects that are produced. You're by no means tied to having to get back in touch with an outsourced designer to make the slightest change. You would have the power to make those changes within your own office. Our design services, we would implement either or both a photo design or a site plan, and this can all be done just by contacting us through email, indicating the scope of your project, if you'd like either the photo design or a site plan or both for your project, and providing us with as many details as possible so we can understand your design ideas, your concepts, and then be able to implement them in a way that you are really envisioning. So that concludes today's presentation of really taking away the frustration when you're creating your landscape design plans. I do want to thank everyone for participating in today's webinar. If you have any questions, you can certainly send us an email, give us a call in the office. We can answer those questions, no matter if it is for existing customers on how to implement some of the ideas that we talked about today, if it's some companies that are new to Earthscapes, maybe you have not yet purchased the application, give us a call. We can answer PC requirements. We can also give you some additional examples, answer your questions of any questions that you may have about either the photo design program or the site plan design application. But I do want to thank everyone for joining us. If you have questions, you can certainly enter them into the chat box within the application, within that GoToMeeting application. I'll stay on the line here for a little while. But again, I want to thank everyone for joining us today, and we will send out a recorded session of today's webinar presentation as a link. So just keep your eyes open for that follow-up if you do want to share it with anyone else. And everyone have a great holiday season.